She's a best-selling author and life coach, obsessed with helping women to silence their insecurities, build healthy boundaries, and fearlessly pursue the life and career of their dreams. Join her as she provides you with strategies and real-life tips to create your best life. Welcome to Fearless Fridays with Marianne.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fearless Fridays with Marianne. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. She is an author, speaker, training coach, and you are going to be in for a treat. Hello, Colette. How are you?
Hi, Marianne. I am good. So good to be here on my very first podcast. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This is awesome. So let's just, jump right in. Who is Colette? What is your story?
So Colette is, let me start with the easy part first, is a woman who loves laughter. I love to be around my friends, giving jokes and stuff like that. On the serious side, I am a woman of faith who put that faith into action 2 years ago and stepped out of a comfortable job and walking into the unknown as a life coach, a trainer, and a speaker. Yes. I also love serving women. That, I believe, is my gifting and my calling. That's who Colette is.
I love it. I love it. So you said a whole lot in that brief little statement there. Yeah. So you walked away from a job and leaped into coaching. So what was happening in your job that you probably felt unfulfilled? You felt probably stuck, that made you think, okay, I want to do coaching and it's time for me to take that leap of faith now before waiting.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I can't say I made that decision of my own to do coaching. I did not. When I took that leap, I actually did not know what I was going to do. So for a number of years, I was thinking, I felt like there was something more for me to do. It's just that I didn't know what the more looked like. I knew it was time to leave where I was. It's a great organization. I still volunteer with them, even though I've left almost 3 years. So we still have that relationship. But I felt like it was time to leave. And honestly, as an immigrant to this country and this great organization, the Urban League, if I can call that name, of Broward County, they gave me this opportunity. And I didn't want to go because I didn't know what I would be doing. I don't know where I would be going. And so I really wanted to stay where I was. But then I kept giving the Lord a timeline. I keep saying next year, next whatever, next few months. But the last time in 2019, there was an event that was happening, and I told the Lord when the event was over, this would have been it. 1 week later, I heard, the event is not over. What are you going to do? It's almost like somebody was speaking right there. I was so shocked. And it made me realize that I had to move. And this was right before the pandemic. Honestly, I think God knows exactly what he's doing, because he knew if January had stepped in or whenever we found, I would not have moved. And so he made me uncomfortable where I was comfortable and was saying the exact words were, it's time now to get out of the boat into the water, knee deep, ankle deep. I didn't understand what that meant until much later in 2020 when all that was happening. Because what I'm doing now is something that's new in the sense that I've never done it professionally before. It was something that my friends think I was good at, but I didn't see it as a calling, so to speak. And so that's how I ended up in John Maxwell team, because I wasn't sure. I knew that I wanted to speak, but I wasn't sure exactly what the steps were. And that's how I landed there. That's a lot. But
oh, no, that's good. That's good. So John Maxwell, did you look into any other programs, or did you just know about John Maxwell and just decided to go with that one?
Right. I actually did not look in any programs. I don't in any other program. For some reason, the John Maxwell team, I can't say that I knew of them like that, so I knew all their programs or anything. But the name came up in my spirit, and I said, let me check it out. And Marianne, to be honest, I checked them out. I messaged the program advisor and I didn't hear back. And just like I thought, says, please go and check their cost. When I went and I checked their cost, I said, wait. this, this is not for me. I cannot afford any at all. So the first try, no one responded. The second time someone did, and I was in a little bit of a huff, and I said, really? No one responded the first time. Now that I know what the cost is, you can definitely don't bother to try. But there was something within me that says, listen. So that night when the person called and they left a message, I actually responded to say, yes, I will listen to what you're saying. That ended up with me getting a part scholarship to go. And so the things that I was worried about, a blessing came right in there.
Nice. So when you made the transition to leave your job, what exactly were the steps for you to become, leaving your job, leaving the comfort of your job, leaving the comfort of a steady paycheck, insurance, which I think that's something that keeps a lot of people stuck in a position, in a job, working with corporate nonprofits, whatever it may be,
Yes.
because of that consistency and because of that safety.
Yes.
So what was the timeline? What did it actually look like for you?
Oh my God. Marianne, can I tell you and tell our audience that will be watching or hearing this, listening to this later, it's not easy. It's not, I can tell you it was not an easy decision. But there is something that tells you that, like, and I'm going to liken it to almost like dying. Like I had to do it. Like if I didn't do it, this is just, like I had to do it. So I knew that once I started thinking about all the things that I'm going to leave, the everything that is the steady paycheck, the health insurance that I needed, all of that. But can I be honest with you? Is that when I look at that, is that I could not just let that be the only reason. So within that decision from making it was 1 month. I spoke with my supervisor. I told her, the good thing is that we had a great relationship. So she understood when I told her that. She said, where are you going? And I said, I don't know. I'm leaving and there is nothing lined up. There is no job. Because what I'll tell you before is that I sent out a lot of applications because I thought it meant that I needed to go into another organization. But no one, no interviews, no one called me back. That part of it was really rough. Because I started feeling like I didn't have any value. I wasn't qualified. How comes I got here? But no, I'm moving. There's nothing else that's happening. So the timeline was short. It was bittersweet leaving. But at the end of the day, I wanted, and I was also approaching 50. There was something about getting to that 50 that made me feel like the time was right now. And if it didn't happen now, it would not have happened again.
Beautiful. So what traits did you have, or do you have, not did, but you have, that made your girlfriends feel, that you were good to be a coach and to take that leap of faith and go into this career?
They believe I have wisdom and the skill of listening, right? They think I give great advice. So it's not just the coaching, but the speaking. They believe that I have something called authenticity and openness and realness. So I don't hold anything back. Wisdom, of course. So it's like I speak what I'm feeling, because at the end of the day, someone else will benefit from what I'm saying. So when it comes on to the coaching, which even now with just getting clients, they like the fact that I'm going through it with them. They're not feeling as if they are alone. They're feeling like I'm right there with them. And that for me means a whole lot. And just when I go to, I think I love the speaking a whole lot more than I love the coaching, because the speaking gives me an opportunity. Because I know coaching, it's pulling the answers from within them. Yeah. The speaking is just being me, being real, being open. So those are the straight. They think I have the wisdom, the realness, the authenticity, the listening ear to make a difference.
That's beautiful. So you're also an author. So tell us about your book.
Okay, so the book is positioned for purpose, the journey. Positioned really mean the space where you are at now, or what is happening in your life now, that God has a plan and a purpose for it. So it's talking about whether you've been through some difficult seasons in your life, whatever the difficult seasons are. For mine, in this particular book, it had to do with self-esteem and self-confidence. It also has to do with going through heartbreak and divorce and depression and suicidal thoughts and all of that. But at the end of the day, I can tell you, it is not a expose, it's not a tell-all book or anything like that. It's enough in that story to tell a woman that, if she has been able to overcome, if she could find hope and triumph over those things, then I can too. If she can share her story with me, that means I can share my story too, because at the end of the day, we want to build each other up. Right? We want to tell someone else that we are there with them. You're not going through life alone. You're not alone in the emotions, in the hurts, in the heartaches that you're going through. And God is going to use them for his glory. That's it.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. So in regards to finding hope, what would you say, what's the journey? Like, how does one find hope?
All right. So for me, it's looking at the situations that you've been through, right? And understanding that though it seems so difficult and seems so hard, that there's actually, when you look beyond the season that you're in, that there is something better that is ahead. It's just like a train going through the tunnel. The tunnel is dark, right? So you had some light, which is the good spots in our life. Then you go through a period of darkness. The hope comes when you get through that and that seeing the light. That there is something beyond what I'm going through. If I can just hold out, if I can just stick it out, then there is something that is beyond that. And that even if my situation doesn't change, I have this feeling that it will in time. So I can't say that there is stage one, you do this, and stage one, you do that. The only that thing that comes to mind is just the train going through that way. The train is not going to stop on the tracks in that tunnel. It's going straight through.
That's so good. That is so good. So there's something. So I wanted to kind of like circle back a little bit. When you made the transition from your job to becoming a coach, or taking the leap of faith and going on your own. And I completely drew a blank on it. So, okay, I know what it is. So you are a woman of faith, and I'm pretty sure that through the process, you probably dealt with some uncertainties. You probably were second guessing yourself. You probably even questioned God.
Yes.
Like, is this real? Am I really listening to you? Did I really hear you correctly? So what did that look like?
Oh my gosh. Listen, Marianne, listen. I question God. I asked if it is him. I said, it must be Colette. It must be you, right? Who? No, this can't be real. I was even in handing in the resignation, I wanted to not do it because I said, no, Colette, you're not sure. I don't think this is God who is speaking. How can you leave a job? You don't even know what you're going out there to do. Don't do it. And listen, I second guessed myself until I handed in the resignation. I doubted God. I doubted that he'd called me to do this, because the reality is that, Marianne, I've been in the shadows. In all the jobs, no matter the leadership positions, I'm always in the back. So this is now calling me from be out in the shadows to come to the front. And I was afraid of that. I was afraid of the light, because I actually just wanted to stay there, because staying in the shadows is where I was comfortable, is where I am not being seen, I am not being noticed. I just do my work right from behind there, and I was comfortable with that. But now that I was in a place where I had to step out from the shadows, I'm telling you, the uncertainty, the lack of self-confidence, the self-esteem issues rose up. Who is going to listen to you? What are you going to do? You know, especially because I was applying for jobs and no one was responding. I started feeling all types of ways, all types of feelings were coming across. It was just me. There were some difficult days. They were not rose-colored at all. but I got through them one day at a time.
So what was that like? So how did you get through it?
Oh my gosh. So for me, support system is very key. Some sisters around you who you can just be real and tell them, so listen, this thing is, I'm not trusting God right now. It's looking like I made this decision on my own and I want to change my mind. And you have some of these women, especially when we're being real with our sisters and they know our journey, they can say to you, they said to me, but Colette, you're not going to tell yourself to leave your job and go out. So you have to know that it must be God. And I don't think the devil is going to tell you to leave your job either, to just go out. So you have to trust what you are hearing. And then they said, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? And so they encouraged me along the way. Of course, they had to give me some real hard shake up. But that's what happened when you have women who love you.
Yes.
They had to really give me a couple licks and say, girl, get it together, get it together, get it together. Because if the Lord is calling you out, it means he has something for you. And if you're like me, you need to see the end of the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't seeing the end of the road. I was not even seeing the beginning of the road beyond what I needed to do. And that was the reminder. That was what it looked like, because I had a community with me. And then I draw back on my relationship with God, because I really started praying and seeking his face to say, what do you want me to do? You said to leave. No, I'm here. It's now January. I don't know what to do. I have absolutely no clue. I don't see the light. What am I going to do? How am I going to manage? Then when we heard about Corona, that brought on a whole different set of questions.
Yes.
I was just saying, God, what you doing with me? It was hard. I can tell you. It was not easy, especially when the Corona part came in.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and that's definitely so true, but you stuck through it and you kept on going. So how has it been going from the shadows into the light?
Oh my gosh. Listen, it's glaring and it's an adjustment. It's a transition. That moving from in the shadows where I was comfortable, that staying in the background, just don't want to be noticed, don't want to speak up, not put in a place where I had to speak up. I have to go before persons and share my story with persons, to speak to persons. It is hard, but can I tell you that I actually enjoy doing it? Once I'm doing it, whether it is that I'm coaching or I'm mentoring someone or I'm getting on stage or in a small group to speak, it's like there is no light, there is just me. So there is no, what I would call, no focus on me, but there is an opportunity to pour out of me. And so the light now fades, in the sense that the light is not showing me, but showing up the ladies and what I have to do.
Yeah. So definitely that first step. And they always say that first step is always the hardest. But once you take that first step, the second step gets a little easier.
Yes.
And then the more you keep going, the easier and easier it gets.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true, Miriam, because even in terms of speaking like this, or in coaching, after the first session or the first engagement, it starts getting better and the excitement start building. Of course, the trepidation comes in and the self-doubt, and they say, oh my God, are they getting it and whatever. But each time you learn, if you get feedback, then I build on it and, tweak on what needs to be tweaked. And then I go ahead again. Because at the end of the day, there'll always be something that wants to hold me back, wants to keep me back. My thoughts are going to come in and they're saying, Colette, you have no relevance. Who wants to listen to you? You have nothing to offer. But then I have to remind myself that there is a gift within me. Not everybody will get it. The persons who are assigned to me, the persons who are assigned to you, they will hear you. They will hear us differently. So I have to be able to show up for that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So how do you stay motivated, and how do you take care of yourself and rejuvenate?
Okay. I stay motivated because I have 2 adult daughters who are like what I would call they are my biggest motivators because they have bought into this vision and they encourage me. One of the days when I feel like, oh, I can't go any further, there's a mom, but you can. You've taught us resilience and that you can do it. You're just in a home. So outside of my friends, I'm thankful for my 2 daughters. How I motivate myself as well is like I read and I listen to podcasts and I listen to other persons speaking because it helps to motivate me. And then I remind myself of who I am, because if you take away everyone else, I'm still left with me. So I had to find something inside to say, Colette, you are more than worth it. You have enough in you to give to someone else who need it. And listen, what was the last thing you asked me? One last question. I also talk about, I love to watch movies. So I watch movies. Yes, I watch movies and I love to listen to music and I love to dance. My kids say, Mommy, you can't dance, but I don't mind. I love to dance. It's a way.
Movement is good.
Yes, it's beautiful to me.
Yeah.
So I love to do practical things like that, dancing and watching a very good movie. Those are my 2 things. If you just need to leave me with the remote and there's electricity and I'm fine with that. I have music and I have movie. I'm cool.
I love it. I love it. So I know that you briefly mentioned before we came on live that you have a journal coming out. So tell us a little bit about that journal.
Okay, so I've been thinking about and actually just praying about the journal, about what to do, because I knew the journal was to come out right after this book, but I didn't know what it was, exactly how it should be. And so after praying about it for some months and whatever, nothing was coming. And then, I got the idea for what it will be. So the journal, for persons who may purchase the book, I'll tell you that at the end of each chapter, there's what we call lessons learned. And what I got in my spirit is to write the lessons learned. That will be the journal prompt, and below it there will be scriptures as underpinning to those prompts, and the lines will be there for persons to write. I feel good because if I'm obedient to what I'm hearing, it will be a good resource for persons. Whether you have purchased let me back that up, whether you have purchased the book or not, the prompts are enough to ask you questions that you're going to have to think through. It's not something for you to want to rush through. And then it will also help you to get some stuff out, whatever it is that you're dealing with here. If you're dealing with confidence issues, if you've gone through a divorce, the heartache, a heartbreak and whatever, and there's some scriptures at the end that will be there as a guide. And I hope that it will be therapeutic for persons as they read the prompts and as they write.
That's awesome. So what would you say are 3 tips that 3 steps, 3 tips that someone can take if they are getting that little nudge that it's time for them to take a leap of faith and step into something different?
Okay. So the first thing I would say, and which is what I do, is to actually make sure that I'm hearing that it is what God is saying to me. So 1 is the first step. Is it? And if the response is yes, then the next step that you're going to take is to actually do. The hardest step is to do, is to step out, is to make that first step. So it's not even just let me back that up. So the very first step, yes, is that we're going to ask God, is this what you're saying? And when he says yes, then the next thing that we're going to do is to say, what do you want me to do? Right? He will not give you everything that you need, but he will know what you want to do. When you've heard what he wants you to do, then you are going to do the third thing, which is the hardest thing, is to make that step.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. And sometimes we just keep going. Sometimes we try to negotiate with God. We try to negotiate. I'm like, oh, just give me this. Can I just do this? And I'll continue to do that.
Yes.
And sometimes it just gets to the point that, he keeps nudging us. And it gets a little bit, more frequently to the point that, especially if it's something, for example, let's say leaving a job.
Yes.
And it's like God keeps calling you, leave that job, that job. And you keep waiting. Oh, I want to have so much money saved. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then something may happen, because I've had a couple of guests that have, talked about that. And they either end up getting fired. They end up getting laid off. And it's kind of like, listen, God is like, I try to tell you to leave, but you kept on waiting. So you got to go.
Marian, I felt that way as well. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we tend to asking God, and he's showing us the way, because I didn't want to be fired, because I felt like he was giving me so many nudge. The next nudge was going to be that I was going to lose my job. And I said, I really didn't want it to get to that point. So let me just do what needs to be done. Because remember, I would have been putting off this for a number of years. Yeah. It didn't just come in 2019. It just that this time the Lord spoke that the event is over. No, what are you going to do? And when I heard that voice, it sounded so stern that I had to do something about it. Because like I said, listen, my God, if I don't do this, more than likely I might be fired, and I don't not want to be fired. Because you never know. You never know.
Yeah, that's
so at the end of the day, it really is all about listening and moving, because if where we are at, we think it's the absolute best, when you move, you'll understand that honestly it isn't. It's what is where you are right now is the absolute best, because you're in God's will.
Yes. So aside from the journal that you are working on, what else do you have coming up in 2022, and where can our audience and our listeners connect with you and learn more about you?
Okay, so last year we had our very first Me Movement Positioned for Purpose Women's Conference. That was an amazing experience. This year it will be back for a second time this year on Friday, November 4th, 2022. Last year we had both virtual and in person. It was awesome. We had 60 or a little over 60 women, 60 in person and online viewing, and the feedback was great. So we're having that. And as a lead up, I'm having a Me Circle, which is titled The It Conversation. It's whatever it is that is affecting us as women. And it will be held quarterly, the first quarter. I think I have April, as it's at the end of April. The last Friday in April is when we're having it at 7 p.m. So if you want to be a part of it, you can find me on Instagram at the Me Movement LLC, on Facebook at the Me Movement LLC, right? And you can also email me at the Me Movement LLC at gmail.com. Or if you just search for my name, Colette Lawrence, on Facebook or on Instagram, you're able to find me there as well. And if you want to join the It Conversation, you are welcome to. It's not going to be a cost. It's just a moment. I'm just going to speak to them, and if I have guests will be there joining, and it's just a time to have real open conversation.
That's beautiful, and I'll make sure to capture all of that in the show notes so our audience can refer back to it.
Yes.
So as we get ready to close out, is there anything that we have not talked about or mentioned that you would like to touch base on before we close out?
No, but I just would want to thank you again for this opportunity. It means a whole lot. Firsts are important to me, so thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm sure you pick your audience, your guests. You must have, you pick your guests well, and so I'm thankful to be a part of that. And I just want to speak to persons who will watch this after, whatever your story is, wherever you are. Marian is the fearless coach. It means that she would have had to be overcome some obstacles, and is inviting you to say you can do the same. And I'm also saying that you can do the same. Whatever it is that you have faced and is facing, and you feel like, boy, this fear is getting to me, I can't go ahead. We're here to encourage you. I'm here to encourage you that you can do it. And if God is calling you to take a leap of faith, Trust and know that He has a net. He will catch you. He will not allow you to fall. The provisions that you need, He will be giving you them every step of the way. If He did it for Marian, if He did it for me, if He did it for others, He certainly can do it for you.
I love that. I love that. So as we are ready to close out, what would you say is a fearless tip for 2022 that our audience can implement immediately and walk away with?
A fearless tip that you can implement is one. It's going to sound very simple. It's acknowledge who you are. Remind yourself of who you are. Look in your mirror and tell yourself, I call your name. I am, in this case, I am Colette. I'm important. I'm a gift to the world.
Beautiful.
I have meaning.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Fearless Fridays with Marianne. I hope that you enjoy the conversation with Colette. And in her words, He has a net and He will catch you. So just take the leap of faith. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this episode inspiring and motivating. Don't forget to leave a comment so you can win a fabulous prize at the end of the month. You can leave a review on iTunes, or you can head over to YouTube or my Fearless Living Coach page on Facebook if you are an Android user. And as always, remember, you are fearless, you are fabulous, you are a priority, and you matter. See you next time.